This is just another, the situation with this monument is just another in a pattern of disrespect of our veterans by this Liberal government. You know, it starts with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau telling veterans that they're asking for more than we can give. And then you think about all of the other things that they've done to demonstrate that clearly he feels like he doesn't want to give to our veterans. You think about how often we in this committee and we as members of this committee hear about delays and denials of service or of benefits or of supports. You know, we've recently studied the new contract for rehabilitation services, and we've heard from numerous veterans about how they're finding they can't get the services or support they need from this government as a result. We hear all the time about stories of veterans who, it's not just measured in weeks or in months, but actually in years, how long it can take to get the benefits and support that they earned, that they've deserved because of the service they've given to this country. And, you know, it's appalling, frankly, that we have veterans who, you know, have, in some cases, given their limbs, given, everything they have, and they're struggling with physical or mental injuries, and they cannot get the support they deserve or need. We hear of increasing numbers of homeless veterans. We hear about more and more veterans utilizing the food bank. The Veterans Food Bank in Edmonton recently reported that over the last 3 years, the need for their services has quadrupled amongst veterans. We're hearing similar kinds of stories all across this country. We've even heard testimony at this committee about Canadian Armed Forces members that are sleeping in their cars because the cost of living crisis has gotten so bad they can't afford a place to live. And then, of course, not that long ago in this committee, we were seized with the issue of Veterans Affairs suggesting to some veterans that, if all of this stuff that we've put up in front of you to make life difficult, if that's made life so hard, well, we could offer you assistance in dying. Veterans that serve this country have been told that by Veterans Affairs. So you see this pattern of disrespect, Mr. Chair. And this is just another example. 8 years this government has been in power, and nothing's been done. This monument has gone nowhere. It took them several years, I think it was 5 years, to even kind of set up a competition for a design. And then they've now, because of political interference by the Prime Minister's office, there is delay, there is controversy, and now no one knows when this monument will ever be built because of all that delay and all that controversy. And that's really a dishonoring of the memories of those who gave their lives for this country, serving in Afghanistan. 158 Canadians laid down their lives in service of this country in that mission. And to think that just because of some political interference from the Prime Minister's office, not only can those who return not get the service they deserve from this government, but those who gave their lives, their families don't even get to witness a memorial, a simple memorial, which I think would be the very bare minimum anyone could expect for that kind of service. Can't even see that come to fruition because of this, this disrespect on behalf of this Liberal government. You think about the memories of the heroes that served this country, and what it would mean to their families to be able to see that. And then you listen to the excuses or the so-called reasons that the government has provided for why they felt the need to not follow the process that was put in place. So to be real clear about this, Mr. Chair, this is something that's never before been done. There was a jury process set up to adjudicate 5 finalists for this design. And this is a process that's well known internationally. And, you know, we heard from experts that, you know, members of the jury, you know, the architecture experts, Louise Arbor, a former Supreme Court justice in this country, and others about the incredible irregularity that occurred here. Something that no one sees any precedent for, not only in Canada, but anywhere in the world, where a jury process like this has been set up to choose a design, and then, for some reason, the government chose to completely disregard that. It's the first time it's ever occurred. This is unprecedented for this to have happened. And what we know right now is that in about November of 2021, there was a decision made to go ahead with a design. And that was communicated to the Minister of Veterans Affairs. It was communicated to the Minister of Canadian Heritage. And then somehow in the year and a half that followed, between then and June of 2023, June of this year, that decision was changed. What we know is that there was all kinds of communication going back and forth between the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Canadian Heritage, the Prime Minister's office, and the Privy Council office. They claim publicly now that their reason for this was because they felt that the one they've chosen was more preferred by veterans based on some survey that they can't even, there's not even a scientific nature to it that they can actually determine whether what they're saying is accurate. But in that whole time, in that year and a half process, every bit of documentation we've seen thus far tells us that all of the advice from both the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Department of Canadian Heritage were to go ahead with the monument that was, or with the design that was originally chosen. And if there was going to be a second option, it should have been to start a new process. Nowhere in any of that was there a suggestion that the government just disregard the process and say we're going to choose someone else as the winner. Now this, to me, isn't about favoring one design over another, but it seems like it was for whatever reason for the Prime Minister's office. And no one knows why. But, you know, I think it's another matter of disrespect for our veterans when they use them as an excuse when clearly what they're saying is not accurate. It's not true. You know, there's a group, a minister's advisory group that exists for commemorations, which should have been consulted on a decision like this. I mean, that to me, if you want to speak to what veterans are saying, would be a place you could go. And to be fair, in the beginning of the process of all of this, they did go to that group and they said, we've got a couple options here for sites. They asked them for feedback on some of the criteria around what should be given to the jury. And that all was occurring in 2018, 2019, even into 2020. And then suddenly, this group got left in the dark from there on out. Nothing in that year and a half period where the government was looking at making a change, supposedly because veterans wanted a different monument. But that group that was supposed to represent veterans, to advise the minister, was not even consulted or even updated in that period of time. So it seems a little bit fishy. Veterans groups that represent Afghanistan veterans, doesn't appear as though there was any or much consultation with them, and if there was, it didn't really seem like they listened to what they were hearing from those groups. The Canadian Armed Forces itself, many of the members who served in Afghanistan, of course, continue to serve in our Canadian Armed Forces today. And it looks as though, the feedback they would have received from Canadian Armed Forces was disregarded as well. So all of these things tell us that there is something else going on here. No one knows what. All we know is the Prime Minister's office has interfered in this process that has delayed, at the very minimum, the construction of this monument. At the very minimum, has delayed it. And it may even end up delaying it inevitably. So what we need to know is what the truth is here, Mr. Chair. Who initiated this change? Why did they initiate this change? How did they initiate this change? At the end of the day, those who serve this country in Afghanistan deserve this monument. It needs to get built, and we need to know why this government has created such a controversy around it that is incredibly in doubt now. So that's why we moved this motion today, to help us to do just that. That's what we're here for as a committee, is to make sure that we do everything we can do to ensure that our veterans are served, that they're cared for, that they're shown the respect they deserve. And getting this monument built is a critical part of showing those who served in that mission, the respect that they deserve. So I move the motion, Mr. Chair, and I certainly hope that it will have the support of all members of this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. And first of all, I'd like to welcome Mr. MP Pierre Paulus to the committee. And on my list, I have Ms. Blenay, Monsieur Desilets, and Monsieur Paulus. So, Ms. Blenay, the floor is yours, please.
Well, thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. I have absolutely no problem supporting the motion that Mr. Richards has put forward, and I've shared that with him. I do have some concerns about the notice to motion that Mr. Desilets put forward. I don't think bringing in staff from ministers or the PMO's office is relevant in this study. But what I think I am most concerned about is the fact that we sat in the space on Tuesday of last week where the chair asked us if he could cancel the next meeting on Thursday, and then also had commitments that we would come back at the beginning of the session and we would sit down and we would talk about all the studies, including the ones that Mr. Richard just brought forward, that I've already publicly said that I would support. And that we would have that discussion at that time and look at what the new agenda would be for the beginning of the next year. So I'm very disappointed. It feels like we missed an opportunity on that Thursday. I would have been happy to come to committee. When I was there, the chair was very clear in what he shared with us. So I want to move forward, but it feels like we're here a little bit for grandstanding in politics. So I move to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you very much, Ms. Blenay. Even though I have name on the list, so I have to...
Just a point of order, Mr. Chair. Just
yes.
to make it really clear, all that's being asked for in the motion is to produce documents.
Excuse
so it's not
me,
asking
Mr.
for
Richards.
It's just to produce documents.
Excuse me,
That
Mr. Richards, sorry, I have a motion saying to adjourn the meeting, so I have no choice to have to go on vote on that, and we will come back. So I ask the clerk, please take the vote, please.
Ms. Bennett.
In favor.
Mr. Casey.
In favor?
Mr. May.
In favor.
Mr. Miao.
In favor.
Mr. Sarai.
In favor.
Mr. Dowdell.
We're already here. We should continue, but I oppose.
Mr. Richards.
Opposed. All it's asking for is documents, and we could have done that right now and then been able to still look at what we would study in the new year.
Mr. Paulus.
Je m'oppose, c'est absolument inconcevable. Merci.
Ms. Wagenthal.
Thank you, Clerk. I'm opposed.
Thank
you, Clerk. I'm opposed.
Monsieur Desilets.
Contre.
Ms. Blaney.
In favor.
6 yeas, 5 nays.
So with the result, the meeting is adjourned.